Oh, Google.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for um, dealing with some of the technical difficulties. Google likes to give us a hard time. We came up against a problem we haven't seen in 2.5 seasons, so it's always something new. But anyway, we're ready to get started. As you can see, Sarah Smelling isn't here yet because for some reason Google won't let her in. So she's going to try to join, at some point and come in and help us out with the interview. Um, since we're starting a little late, let's just jump right in it. Um, this guest that we have is special for a couple of reasons. I actually connected with her on Instagram and see all of the crazy things she does. You'll be able to see evidence of some of that hanging up behind her in a few minutes. But I didn't know her full story. And she actually happens to be an old friend of Sherry Ann. So, it was great that Sherry Ann was able to fill me in on some of the things that was in her pre-fitness life. It's like it's a small world. Someone that I connected with through social media is also, a friend of my wife, and I was able to hear a lot about her through that. So, we're going to let her introduce herself, and then hope you guys will, have some great questions for her, especially as you begin to hear some of the things that she's doing now, and some of the things she's helping people with. Okay, Nikki, so you can. All right.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited, slightly nervous, but mostly excited to be here and share my story. I'm Nikki. Currently, I am a personal trainer, certified personal trainer, and I am what I call myself a gold digger, and I try to permeate that message throughout all of my social media. I want everybody to be gold diggers, go after what they want. Anything you want, you can have it. So that includes fitness and everything else, but fitness truly is my passion, and I wasn't always like this. It's been a journey, and I'm happy to share that with you guys today.
All right, thank you, Nikki. And at the end of the show, links to her on social media and also her website will be in the description box, so make sure you check her out and connect with her. Okay, so people are able to get on, so that's good. I do want to ask just some of the things that I guess led to this moment. I mean, you're fit girl, Nikki. Were you always that way? And how did this come about?
No, I have. Who I am today is a million times different than who I was just even 4 years ago. So to back up a little bit, we'll start in my teenage years. I grew up slim. I was a size 0, but I was eating fast food probably almost every day. Ate junk food almost every day, and life was great. I wore what I wanted. Thought I looked good. Everything was fine. And then in my 20s, things started to change, and the foods I was eating and mixed with, I really wasn't exercising or doing anything about it, like I started to put on weight. And it wasn't until I was around 25 where I reached around my highest weight. For some people, it might not seem like a big deal, but when you grow up being a size 0 for most of your teenage years, and then suddenly you're a size 8, 9, 10, it's shocking. So my highest weight was around 151 pounds or so, and I'm 5'3", about 5'3", just to give you an idea of what that might look like. I know you've posted some of my before pictures, so you can kind of get an idea. So I had a traumatic experience that, in hindsight, was kind of a catalyst to me starting my fitness journey in 2010. It took a couple years for me to get to that point, but it's crazy because like when I thought about like that first day when I signed up for the gym, I had no idea that I would become Fit Girl Nikki. This was not, I just wanted to fit in my jeans again. So it's definitely been a journey. So I can get into the full story now if you like, or if you have other questions, I can answer those as well. But let me know what you want me to do.
Well, I would ask, what does a typical day look like now? Like, kind of tell us where you are, and then we'll go back and see how you got to this point.
Yep. So a typical day for me, I'll start with like a Sunday because usually Sundays is when I meal prep for the beginning of the week. I used to meal prep all my lunches for the entire week, but now I meal prep around 4 meals a day. So it's a lot. So I can't do a whole week. So I'll meal prep on Sunday for about 3 days. And then so Monday will come and I have all my meals packed and ready to go. I have a full-time job, so I go to that. And then after I get off work, usually I come home and relax for a little bit, and I'll work on my site. I'll work on content for other sites that I blog on about fitness. And then I'm off to the gym for 2 or 3 hours. And then I come home and I'm probably online doing some more research or blogging or just thinking about my next Instagram post because I'm very, very strategic. I try to plan out my posts because I feel like I am very busy. So I want to make sure I have stuff to post because, I want to keep motivating other people.
Okay.
So when do you sleep?
Yeah, good question.
All right, so I know that you're into weightlifting. That's one of the things. Did you start that at the beginning? Because I know a lot of women are kind of afraid to do weightlifting because they feel like they'll look like a man or any other thing. You hear a lot of those. So did you start that at the beginning when you're trying to get fit?
I started weight training, but I wouldn't say I was doing the same things that I'm doing today. So when I first joined the gym, my goal at the time was to, of course, lose some weight. I wanted to run a 5K. That was like one of my long-term goals at the time. I had started the Couch to 5K program, and I was kind of determined that I was going to run a 5K at some point in my life. And I had been running outside, and then it started getting cold. So I was like, you know what, I should join the gym and run on the treadmill. So I started out, mostly doing treadmill, running, walking, and occasionally I would stumble onto the floor and play around with some of the machines. I would never go to the free weight section because it was scary and there was a bunch of men, and I didn't want to be anywhere near that section. So things are quite different now. I usually spend most of my time in the free weight section.
So do you still run?
I do occasionally, not as often now that I've been in the bodybuilding sport, but prior to that I would run a few times a week, but now we're trying to hold on to as much muscle as possible, so I don't want to run too many long distances and risk burning some of that muscle that I've put on. So.
Okay. All right. So you did say that you weren't like this at all. Like, can you now go into the beginning and how, what happened and how much detail you want to give us? What happened and just give us a timeline.
Sure. I'll go back to 2006. So in 2006. I was dating someone and we were very serious. We were actually planning to get married and we were living together and everything was perfect. We were both, at the time, we both had gym memberships and we would mainly go and just do light cardio because we both felt like we wanted to lose some weight before we got married and stuff, and we wanted to, just improve the way we looked. So, maybe 3 or 4 times a week we would go and basically do 30 minutes of cardio, and that was that. But things changed for the worse in 2007. So April 6, 2007, I actually took him to work that day because his car wasn't cooperating. He didn't feel safe to drive it. That's what he told me the night before. He said he didn't feel safe driving his car. He thought something was wrong with the brakes, and he wanted me to drop him off at work, and then he would fix the car over the weekend. And just a note, April 6, 2007 was Good Friday, so we were also making plans for Easter. So we got to his job, and we were saying our goodbyes and just, talking about the plan for the rest of the day, who was going to pick him up and bring him back home. And he went to go get out the car and just collapsed. And I had no idea what was going on. So immediately I called 911 because, I was yelling his name, but he wasn't responding. He was breathing, but he wasn't conscious. So I called 911 and was giving them information and trying to, find somebody nearby that can help me because I had no idea what to do. I felt completely helpless. Kind of a long story short, he ended up passing away that day, and basically that single moment changed my entire life, like completely. Like that single moment completely changed everything about me, how I thought, how I felt. Everything completely changed from that moment on. And for a long time, I always tell people, for a long time after that, I was just existing. I wouldn't consider it living, because there are times when I try to remember what my days were like, and I can't even remember. Like, I felt like I was in a coma for, 3 years. Like, I don't remember how I was functioning, if I ate. I know I wasn't eating a whole lot, because at that point I did lose some weight. I lost maybe 20 pounds just from grieving alone, but I put that back on later. But it was hard. And I remember it was 2010, and it was towards the middle of the year, and I had started, feeling a little better about, everything I had went through, like going through all the stages of grief, and had started thinking about dating again, and, but I don't feel like I was still 100% there. But later in the year, after breaking up with a boyfriend, it was only for a few months, but after breaking up, I remember just really thinking to myself that I really should take better care of myself, because I felt like I wanted the love that I lost. I wanted him to be proud of me, and I didn't feel like I was in a place where he would be proud of how I was taking care of myself, how I was living. And I really felt like I needed to start paying attention to myself again, because I really, during that whole time of grieving, I really didn't care. I was so apathetic. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care what I looked like, didn't care what I ate, what I didn't eat. I didn't care what I did, what I didn't do. Nothing mattered at that time. So it was like a light switch was flipped, and I started to care again. And it was really just really wanting to make him proud. And, we had made plans of, things we were going to do in the future, and I didn't want to let that go. Like, I wanted to continue doing what we set out to do, even though I was by myself. So that was pretty much the turning point in all of this, and just that, starting the Couch to 5K program, joining the gym, it really sparked everything. When I joined the gym, I did have a personal trainer. I didn't always do what he said, and I do remember times stopping for fast food after our sessions. So, I'm not perfect. And when I started, I definitely had no idea what I was doing, but I still had that goal, that determination that I wanted to be a better version of myself. And I kept working at it. And it really, my light bulb moment, it happened the following year. It was actually March 2011. Like, I remember these dates so vividly, because I feel like they were really moments when my life changed. So March 2011, I was home one day watching a documentary, and it was called, I'll give the name, because I always tell people, go check it out if you can. I saw it on Netflix. I don't know if it's still there, but it's called Fathead. And Fathead was a rebuttal to Super Size Me, and it's kind of like along the same lines of eating junk food, but this guy wanted to prove that you could lose weight if you did the same thing. So basically, long story short there, he went into the science of food and why we got fat, basically, why food makes us fat. And that really got me thinking and started my research on, oh my goodness, I think I know why I haven't been successful in the gym, because I wasn't changing what I ate. So once I changed what I ate, oh my goodness, like I feel like things just fast forwarded, and within, that was March, by that May I had run my first 5K. I finished under my goal time. My goal time was 30 minutes, finished 29 minutes, so I was pretty proud of myself. And from there I started training more in the gym, because I noticed the stronger my legs were, the faster I ran. So it just made sense for me, and that really is what started everything, because I wanted to run better. So I started training a little harder, and things just kept shifting from there. But in a nutshell, that's my story. I wanted to give a little plug. I have a longer version of the story in a book, Bag Ladies. It's on my site, but just in case anybody wanted to get the longer version, because there's a lot of details that I left out, but it's on my site, so I know there'll be links on the YouTube post linking to that.
Mm. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So, I mean, do you feel any regret for, how you handled that 3-year period, or are you able to look back and say, I was grieving and I just went through this grieving process? So, or, like, what do you do? Do you kind of hate that you did that, or do you just accept it as a normal thing?
That's one thing that I always think about. I never regret anything, because I'm an optimistic person, and even though I went through some crazy jacked up stuff, I feel like I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, and that's one thing that I had blogged about it, or Instagrammed about. Like, without that, I wouldn't know how strong I am and how strong I was. Like, even, at the time, I felt that I was falling apart. I felt like any moment now I'm gonna go too, because it's not only emotionally painful, it's physically painful to grieve like that. So I was hurting, but I learned a lot about myself, and coming out of that, I realized if I can overcome that, what am I afraid of now? Like, what can I not overcome?
Right.
So I don't regret anything.
Nikki, did you used to smoke? Were you a
I
smoker?
did.
And where did quitting smoking play into all this?
So I smoked off and on for several years. When I started, it was before the guy that passed away. His name is Farad. So instead of me using weird pronouns and adjectives, so before Farad passed away, I was a smoker. And when we got together, he asked me to stop, and I stopped for him cold turkey. I said, you know what, that's what you want, I'll do it. So I
Wow.
quit.
Wow.
However, after he passed away, I was stressed, and I started smoking again. And basically, again, like what I said before, I didn't care. I was like, well, okay, lung cancer, bring it. So I started smoking again. And then, one day I was just like, I can't do this anymore, and I quit again. And it was for him, again, thinking about him. I'm like, he wouldn't want me smoking and destroying myself. And I quit again cold turkey. I'll say that even though I smoked every day, I don't really feel I was addicted to the nicotine. So maybe that's why it was easy for me to quit cold turkey. I wasn't smoking like a pack a day. I would smoke like 3 or 4 a day, but
Mm-hmm.
I smoked. I drank heavily because I didn't care. So I would be
Mm-hmm.
home. I would smearing off ice. It wasn't hard liquor, but it's still I was drinking and I was smoking and just not caring, not wanting to go out, not wanting to spend time with friends. I would, and that's the thing that's crazy about grieving because I would go and hang out with friends, and I would feel guilty about having a good time. Like I wouldn't want to laugh and be happy because I'm like, man, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be home crying my eyes out.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a battle.
So when did that change for you? When did the emotional piece about, as far as not feeling like you have to be sad, you have to be grieving, when did that part of it change for you?
That was also around the same time in
Okay.
2010. I remember, 'cause, going through it, like I would look at other people that were happy and I would be angry at them, like, how dare you smile? How dare you laugh? It's not fair. But as I went through all those stages of grief, I got to a point where I'm like, he would want me to be happy. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
tables were turned, and it was me, I would want him to be happy. So I kept that in the forefront of my mind, and help that guide me into more positive thinking.
Okay, so, we've been friends on Facebook for all these years, and I loved seeing you accomplish when you started running and, you started getting your trophies for running and everything. And the one thing I remember is that you also decided that you wanted to do a handstand. That was one of your goals.
I'm still working on that goal. I've made a lot of progress, but I actually just posted about this recently because I always say I drop the ball every year. My goal is to like really get better at the handstand because I'm okay at holding it for a couple seconds, but I'm usually right by the wall just in case. But I'm trying to really 2015. I got it. I'm gonna master this.
So why did you choose a handstand? Like, all the things people say they want to do, like why is that the thing? Why was that one of your goals?
I'm crazy, but honestly, like I I look at things like Instagram is helpful too because I go through the hashtags. I look at what people post and I see these amazing things that people are doing with their bodies and I'm like, man, I want to do that. And actually, one of the first people I was following her before she was super famous, Mango Fit. I watched her and I'm like, man, she's doing handstands, she's doing all these crazy moves. She's so strong. Like she was so everything to me. And that was partly one of the reasons why I was like, you know what, if she can do it, let me try to do it. So, after falling a few times and not really knowing what I was doing, I finally got the hang of, at least kicking up against the wall and holding myself because I never realized you're putting your whole body weight basically on your wrists, and that's hard. And so I kept working at that, and that also pushed me to train a little harder in the gym because I'm like, if my arms are stronger, my shoulders are stronger, that should help me master this handstand. But we're working on it, still working on it.
Right.
Cool.
I know that you said that Nerd Fitness, which is a website, right, was
Hmm.
a big part in when you start the weightlifting part of your journey. Like, can you
Right.
just tell us like some of the things that you got from the website? Like, what helped to propel you in the direction you went to from the website?
Yeah, definitely. So around the time when I watched that documentary, a friend of mine who was actually my manager at the time, he had posted a link on Facebook to Nerd Fitness, and I'm like, what's this? I felt like I was a nerd and I was into fitness, so maybe I should check out this site. So I went to the site and I learned a lot because not only were there good advice as to approach your goals and approach food, as far as like the paleo diet, which I can get into a little bit more later. But he also gave good tips on working out from home if you didn't have a gym membership, or even things to do in the gym. So it helped just to give me more advice. I'm a sponge when it comes to scientific things and like really good explanations for something. Like I don't like people to just tell me to do something without an explanation. So I appreciated that nerd aspect to the fitness information because it really was thorough and I really could believe what he was saying. So it's still a site that I subscribe to and I still visit, and I just love everything that they post about.
Does your personal trainer agree? Because you know how sometimes, especially professionals, they don't really like when you try to do research yourself and, or you think you're educated about something and may not agree with their professional opinion. Did your trainer agree with what you were learning?
It actually went hand in hand because my trainer at the time, he would tell me things like, try to eat more of this. He wouldn't give me like specifics because it really wasn't within his realm of his job description to really give nutritional advice, but he knew that me going to Sonic after a workout wasn't ideal. So, but for a while I didn't listen to him, but when I started reading the site and doing my own research, which pretty much backed up everything my trainer said, I was like, oh, maybe he does know what he's talking about.
A little bit.
A little bit.
We have a question from Rob Reno. Excuse me. He asks, what does your daily diet consist of? And if you treat yourself, what do you eat?
Oh, good question. So right now I'm in off season, and that means I can eat a little less restricted than if I were preparing for a bodybuilding competition. But generally, the foods that I eat in both seasons are the same. So I try to eat a lot of whole foods, so proteins, carbs, fats, everything is pretty natural or comes from the earth or comes from an animal. That's usually what I try to eat. So like today I had lean ground beef, broccoli, and I'm going to have some sweet potatoes later on tonight or some brown rice. I haven't made up my mind, but I'm hungry right now, so we'll see. But yeah, that's for the most part, that's what I eat. And what I treat myself with, I love chocolate. I love chocolate so much. So for me, the ultimate treat is, I don't know, because I know this is like all over the country, so I don't know if everyone has a hula hands in their state, but hula hands has a kamikaze brownie sundae, and it is everything to me. Everything. And one brownie, ice cream on top. Sorry, it's totally not the right thing to be talking about, but I love it.
What did you have after your last competition? Didn't you go to IHOP?
Yeah, after I had two competitions. So after the first one, I had IHOP. After the second one, I had that kamikaze. I was actually asleep. I was so tired. I was asleep, and my boyfriend woke me up. He's like, "Come on, we got to go to Hula Hands." I was like, "All right, I'm ready."
All right, so with what made you get into bodybuilding? From saying, all right, I want to get stronger to be a better runner and do a handstand, to entering bodybuilding competitions?
I know, it's crazy. At the common denominator of everything is I'm competitive. Like, I'm such a competitive person, so I didn't want to just run a 5K. I wanted to win the 5K. So that's why I was training for the 5K. And then when I won the 5K, I was like, hey, let's do a 10K. Let's, see if we can place high in a 10K. So pretty much in all my races, I placed in the top 10. I think there was like one or two where I didn't, but it was like super big races, which is fine. But after running for quite some time, I kind of wanted another challenge. And I remember, like, I always heard about bodybuilding competitions. There was always, posts that I would see about bodybuilders, but I didn't think that that was something that I could do because I thought I needed a lot more muscle than what I had. Like at that time when I really started considering it, I had put on some muscle and I had leaned out quite a bit, but I still didn't think that I could compete because I didn't know that they had a division. The division that I compete in is bikini. I didn't know that that existed, and bikini essentially was perfect for me because it required you to have muscle, but not as much muscle as a figure competitor, which is what I had been seeing. And I'm like, man, there's no way I can put on that much muscle in a short amount of time because, you know, I had the goal of competing that following year, not knowing anything about what it takes to be ready for a show and knowing that I needed a coach and not having one at the time, you know, I really had no idea. So I decided to just go to a show. I decided if I really wanted to do it, I should go to a show, see what it was like, see if I could picture myself doing that, and then go from there. And I went to a show, and I was like, yeah, I need to do this. This is where I need to be.
So how did you find your coach?
That is a wonderful story. I feel like everything that I have been doing just falls into place. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is, but things just fall into place. So at that show, I'm already thinking in the back of my mind, I need a coach. And oh my goodness, there's so many people that say they're coaches. How do I know who to go with? What questions do I ask? Or I didn't know anything. So I'm at the show and I see a banner at the show and it's for my coach's team. And it said that he was located in Hillsborough, New Jersey. So I said, oh, that's near my house. Maybe I should check him out. So I made a note of the website and I figured after the show I would check it out. So I did. I went to his website, checked it out, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with him. I was kind of sure because everybody else I had seen, they were far away, and I figured it would be better to have somebody nearby so you could have that face-to-face interaction, because I know a lot of people, they Skype or, you know, they just send, you know, text messages, like photos to their coach over the phone. Like, I wanted someone that would be accessible to me. So the show was in May of 2012 or 2013. I forget what year it was. I think it was 2013. So it was May, and June, I get an email from my gym. You have a new general manager. Guess who the general manager is? The guy, the coach. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is crazy. So I figured that was my sign. I had to go with him. He was going to be working out of my gym, so I would see him almost every day. So I sent an email back responding. It was like a general, like, you know, email from the gym, but I responded to it. I was like, is this the same guy that owns Exile Training? That's the training company. And they were like, yeah, it's the same guy. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, it just seemed like meant to be. And it is.
Yeah, it seemed like it just fell into place if he came and took over your gym.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was looking for you. That's what happened.
I know, right? The audience was like, yeah, what gym does she go to?
So, actually, Rob asked another question that's kind of tied into this. He said, if you could be a professional athlete in any sport except bodybuilding, what would you choose and why?
I'm not all that coordinated. I can't catch that good. And I'm not that good with basketball. I'd probably say something like gymnastics or figure skating, if people consider those sports. I consider them sports, but you know, it's not like the NFL or NBA or anything like that. But I'm really drawn, I guess, to human movement and just what our bodies are capable of. So, like, I always would watch figure skaters and just be amazed at what they could do, because I've been ice skating and it was not as graceful as they make it out to be. And gymnastics, I did do ballet as a child, so I guess that's part of it. I've never learned how to do a backflip or anything like that, but I'm still working on that handstand, so maybe.
Okay. And we have another question that says, what was one of the first goals you were able to achieve when you started getting fit?
It was really that 5K goal. That was my main goal that started me on that fitness journey. I wanted to run that 5K, and my goal in that 5K, it wasn't just to finish, but it was to finish without stopping to walk, because up in up until the race, I couldn't. Like, I would run and then I would walk. I would run and then I would walk, but I still was determined. I'm going to enter this race and I'm going to finish it running the whole entire way. And I did that, and I remember after crossing the finish line, it was so emotional for me. I didn't think it was going to be emotional because it was like I just ran. It wasn't, but I cried because it was like, oh my goodness, I did it. I did it.
Hmm. So what would you then suggest to people who are trying to get fit, trying to get in shape, or trying to lose like a couple 100 pounds? How do you get started? What would you say to them?
I always tell people that it's good to make goals, but you don't want to make goals that are so lofty and so almost unattainable because they're set too big. You want to set small goals that you can achieve and put a time limit on it. So, for instance, when I first started, when I first figured out about clean eating and essentially what foods I should be eating, I got rid of a lot of things in my house because I figured, if they're there, I'm going to eat them. So I got rid of it. But it wasn't like an overnight thing where I just completely did a 180 and became a new person. It was gradual, small steps every day that led to a big change. So I always want to encourage people to not look at the big picture, because it can mess with your mind. If you're thinking about, oh, I have to lose 100 pounds, that sounds like a big job. But if you say, I want to lose 1.5 pounds, that's a smaller chunk that you can attain, and that 1.5 pounds plus the next 1.5 pounds plus the next 1.5 pounds, it keeps adding up, and then next thing you know, you've lost 100 pounds. So I always want to encourage people not to overwhelm yourself or set yourself up for failure by making a list that's too long, like a list of goals that's just way too long. Like, oh, I have to do this, I have to stop doing this. It's too much. Just start with something small, master that, and then add on to it.
So, tell us, why do you like paleo?
Yeah, sure. For me, well, first I'll say that I like paleo. I don't eat paleo 100% of the time, but for me it works. And the one thing that I do want to mention to people that there are other ways to get to your goals. So don't get hung up on, oh, I have to do this way, or I have to eat like this, or not eat like this. There are many ways to get to your goal. And one quote that I saw that always sticks with me is, be stubborn about your goals, but flexible about the method. So it's important to keep your goals in the forefront, and you can tweak how you get there. But going back to paleo, for me, it helps to take the guesswork out of the foods that I should be eating. So instead of wondering, should I eat this or not, it's a little simpler, because I always ask the question, what would a caveman eat? So, I wasn't, around back in the day when cavemen were, but I can imagine that they were eating things that they could hunt or they could find. So it wasn't, boxed, packaged,
It wasn't
anything like
exotic
that. It wasn't
cheeseburger?
processed in a plant. So that's kind of what guides me in my my food decisions. So, lean proteins, chicken, beef, anything like that, fish. And then vegetables and fruit are the primary ingredients in the foods that I eat. I do, occasionally have bread and rice, so I'm not 100% paleo, but that was my foundation when I started, and I just kind of, evolved over time from there.
Do you find eating that way, do you feel differently or from how you ate before? Not just eating, not from eating junk to eating clean, but as far as whatever, dietary changes you made to eating paleo. Like, do you find any changes in how you feel or how you felt?
Definitely, I feel better now. I'm not as sluggish or just, feeling crappy because I really felt I didn't feel good. Like, just things weren't right. Didn't feel good in my own skin. And also I noticed that, the more water I drank and the more spinach or green vegetables I ate, because I wasn't eating a lot of vegetables prior to my dietary switch, my hair got better, my skin got better. Like a lot of things just started to get better. And I'm like, huh, it's more than just, you know, oh, I'm hungry, let me eat something. Like it really, I started to think really like, we eat because we need our bodies to function. We need them to make the cells that make our nails grow, make our hair grow. So if we're ingesting good food, then the outcome should be good as well. But if we're ingesting processed food or, man-made food, I call it like food like substances, our bodies might not know what exactly to do with that, and the outcome might be less than what you expected.
Mm-hmm. So do you eat out often? Like I'm just assuming it will be difficult for you to try to eat the way you eat, out.
No, actually, it's not difficult. Like, actually, one of my favorite things to do is to go to the diner because I live in New Jersey, so there's a diner like every other
Everywhere.
block. But usually when I'm at the diner, I usually get a veggie omelet. That's like my favorite thing, and it's completely paleo. So I usually have no issues eating out because every place will have chicken. They'll have veggies. You don't have to get, the pasta or things like that if you don't want it. But I also, when I do go out, I make a decision. Is this going to be my treat, or, am I still going to stick to my plan? So it's I feel like paleo allows me to be flexible like that. And the other thing I'm realizing now, restaurants are smart. They want to make money, and they know
Yeah.
that a lot of people are dieting or they're
Hmm.
trying to eat paleo because paleo is pretty popular. So they have options. I've seen sections where they say paleo friendly, or
Oh,
there's
wow.
like even a Weight Watcher section or a section for lower calories. And usually there are options in there. It's kind of like, grilled chicken and vegetables. So it's
Right.
really not hard to eat out.
Right. So,
So, go ahead.
okay, I guess my question, speaking about social activities, is since you are so busy, how do you find time for socialization, for your friends, for your relationship? Like, how do you fit that part of life in?
Yeah, I think we were talking about this the other day, but literally I put everything in my calendar, and I do try to make time for my friends and my family when I can. So actually, I have in my calendar these next Saturdays are completely booked with like activities with friends. So I do try to make sure if something is going on and I'm not in a competition or anything like that, that I do try to make it out. Like sometimes I'm tired, but it's okay because I do realize that, this is important too. Just as important as your fitness goal is the people that support you. So I do try to, make sure I make time for them.
And you said you work out 6 days a week, right? A couple hours a day?
Yeah, on average 6 days a week, sometimes five, but on average six. So every day during the week, and then usually one weekend day.
Wow.
So, from that, all the extra stuff you do surrounding fitness and the way that you eat, do you have a lot of people who question you, call you crazy, tell you you don't have to go that extreme, or is everyone like really supportive of what you're doing and how you're doing it?
Fortunately, I've had that support from everyone around me. I know it can be challenging for some people. I've seen, people post things on social media and, they're kind of like, not feeling 100% support from those around them. But fortunately, I haven't been in that situation. Everybody that finds out, why I bring my Tupperware to work every day, or why I carry a jug of water every day. Actually, this is my jug of water. It's with me all the time. When people find out why, they say, "Oh my goodness, you're wonderful. I want to be more like you." So I've had that support even from strangers. So it's been great. And I think part of it for the folks that know me, I always want to know like what my journey looks like from their eyes, because I feel like if you go through my Facebook page, you can see exactly everything that happened along my journey from day one all the way to right now.
I mean, discipline and commitment are just such hard things for all of us. How do you think, just really, how do you think you were able to get yourself to this point? Because we all struggle in different areas of our lives, and just with those things.
Yeah, completely agree. And I'm not perfect, and I do have moments where, I'm not as motivated, but I do keep my goals in the forefront. And now that I'm competing, it's not so much, oh, I want to have six-pack abs, or I want, to, look the best, but it's exactly what am I working towards. Like currently, I'm nationally qualified bikini athlete. So in my division, I've placed second place this year, and last year I placed second place. So that makes me nationally qualified, and that means that now I can compete at a national level, and with the hopes of getting my pro card. So that's my goal right now, is I want to get my pro card. So literally, that is my goal. So all the decisions that I make affect if I reach that goal or not. So not to put all the pressure on me, but there is pressure on me, self-set, because it's my own goal. But that's really right now what drives me. And just to go back to in the beginning of my journey, it was really my goal of I want to complete that 5K. I want to look better in my clothes. I want to lose some weight. So I don't think I actually shared, but so my starting weight was 151 pounds. By the time I ran my 5K, I had lost around 20 pounds. And after that, I don't know the exact timing, but ended up losing total probably around 30, 35 pounds. And I want to keep that off. I'm not trying to go back to who I was before, how I felt before. So that really is what keeps me motivated now, is just continue to be a better version of myself. That's really like, I guess my mission statement is be a gold digger and be a better version of yourself.
So Nicole, you used to model, right, when you were younger, like late teens, early 20s,
Yeah,
right?
I did some hair modeling. I did black hair and all those hype hair magazines. I probably have a couple somewhere, but yeah, I did a couple of that.
I guess my question is, what's the difference in how you feel about yourself between those opportunities then and the person you are now and the things you're doing now?
I think one of the main changes throughout my whole journey, especially now, is my self-confidence and my self-esteem. So even though I was doing like hair modeling and all of that, back when I was like 20 years old, I didn't have the greatest self-esteem, and I really, even though I was a size 0, I wasn't happy in my skin. Like, I looked okay in my jeans, but it's hard to explain, but I remember how I felt, and I didn't really feel attractive, and my self-esteem was really like low. And it's crazy to feel like that and then to get compliments. And it's like it's conflicting. So I would think the main difference now is, you know, I know who I am, I know my self-worth, and I'm proud of myself. So it's a completely different way of carrying yourself. I remember I would walk and I would always look down at the floor. I never made eye contact with people, and now it's a completely different story, especially, you know, after competing and being on stage and basically nothing, because these suits, I don't know if you see this, they don't cover much. So it's kind of hard to be shy and quiet and, you know, embarrassed when, you know, you're basically on stage showing your body off.
We got a couple questions. First one is kind of about fitness. You said your main goal is to get your pro card, but do you have any kind of lesser goals or steps along the way that for 2015?
Yeah, I do. With regards to fitness, so that handstand, that's one of them. That is a fitness goal of mine. I'm going to master, you know, handstands, either kicking up or pressing up into handstands. I was actually practicing this recently and realized that I need a really strong core. Like, I feel like I have a strong core, but it needs to be even stronger for what I'm trying to do. So that is one of my goals, and I'm gonna nail this in 2015. But in addition to that is keeping the intensity in my workouts, and I'm also like, because of my division, I know what the judges are looking for. I'm just gonna say it. They're looking at our butts. They want your butts and in your hamstrings to look a certain way. So, you know, my goal, I'm working on that. I don't know who's been on my Instagram page, but I'm in that squat rack, banging it out, doing the best that I can. But, you know, so I do have, you know, smaller fitness goals that lead up into me getting that pro card.
Okay, thank you. And we got a couple questions about food. The first one is, what is your opinion on organic foods?
Organic foods are great. I know depending on where you go, it could be quite expensive. I feel like depending on where you are in your fitness journey, so if you're just starting out and you're wanting to make a change to eating healthier foods, any change you make is good. So if it means eating non-organic chicken, go for it. But the one thing I do know is that some of the differences between organic chicken and inorganic chicken is what the chickens eat. So if the chickens are eating processed food to fatten them up, then that's what you're eating, essentially. So, you know, they kind of go hand in hand, but I personally, I don't put a lot of precedence on whether I'm eating completely organic or not. If I buy chicken and it's not organic, you know, it's not the end of the world, in my opinion. Some people are more strict, but I'm already strict in other areas, so I'm not, you know, super strict when it comes to the exact foods that I eat. But I know that there are big issues out there, especially in America, with, you know, GMO and processed food. So it's crazy out there, and you know, if you get to travel outside of the U.S., the food is so much better.
Yeah, it's sad.
Okay, we also have, a question from Melody, Zenmate 1. It's actually, the first part is, do you feel that water plays a huge role in weight loss?
Water plays a huge part in your everyday life function. So I know people might say weight loss, but I wouldn't really say weight loss in a sense, because basically our bodies are machines, and these machines, they want to survive, and they need water to survive. So if you're not drinking water, your body is going to hold on to water because it's like, I don't know when we're going to get it, so we don't want to get rid of it. We want to keep it. But if you're drinking water regularly, then you're not holding on to as much water. So you might notice, especially in the beginning of starting like a fitness journey, that you might lose a lot of weight initially. A lot of that might be water weight. And another thing to point out is starchy foods like carbs, they will hold on to water as well. So if you're cutting some of those carbs out of your diet, you're going to lose that water weight along with the carbs as well. So, you know, it does play a role, but I wouldn't consider it weight loss. It's just your body trying to survive.
Okay. And then she also asks, what is 1 or 2 main tips for eating modified paleo as far as carbs go? Then she asks, do you count them or not?
I did count in the beginning, and I still count them now because I have to. But in the beginning, when I started, I tried to stick around. For me, again, I'm 5'3", and at the time I was like 140, 150 pounds around when the time I started paleo. And I would stick to around 100 grams of carbs a day. But this was just an arbitrary number that I picked out of the sky, and it's just what I stuck with. So definitely don't do exactly what I say. Find out what range works for you. And essentially, the carbs that I would choose, primarily sweet potato and fruit. Those were the kind of carbs that I would eat. Every once in a while, brown rice, because, you know, it's not considered paleo, but, you know, I wasn't doing it 100%. So brown rice, sweet potatoes, and fruit for the most part.
Okay.
What is your favorite and your least favorite exercises in the gym?
Favorite and least favorite. So it's funny because I want to say, like, in the beginning, I definitely loved leg day, and anything I did for legs I loved, but now it hurts and I'm not a fan. So probably my least favorite right now are squats, but I do them, but they give me anxiety and I get nervous, and because I know how much pain I'm going to be in for the following days. And my favorite has actually been my back exercises, so particularly pull-ups, because I felt like that was another goal I set for myself early on. I couldn't do a pull-up. I couldn't do half a pull-up, and to go from that to being able to do 20, 25, I feel like is cool, and I enjoy it.
Nice.
All right, so I want to know, what are the last, say, 3 weeks leading up to a competition like for you, especially with getting your numbers from your coach and, you know, how strict your eating is and things like that?
So I can give you 2 different scenarios of those 3 weeks because I experienced them both this year. So earlier this year, the goal was to compete in August. We had picked out a show in August, and that was our target. So, you know, leading up to the show, I would check in with my coach. We check in weekly. And, you know, to start, everything was going fine. And then all of a sudden, so I want to say weight loss, but it's not in the sense of like losing, you know, 50 pounds. For a bodybuilding competition, we have to lean out. So we have to get our body fat percentage down really low. So that's pretty much what I'm doing in the weeks leading up to a show. So around like the halfway point, things just stopped, and I stopped making progress, and we're trying to figure out why. Like, is it the food that I'm eating, or is it something else? Like, just like my body is just like, no, I'm done. So the 3 weeks leading up to that show was kind of like, I don't know if we're going to do this show or not. And we ended up not doing it. So I went through a lot of emotions during that point because, you know, I had just come off of a great season the previous year and had been posting and saying, oh, everybody come, I'm going to do this show in August. And then, you know, right before, we're like, you know what, let's not do it. Because, and I appreciate my coach because he said I would rather take the time off and really dial this in than to put you on stage when I know you can look a million times better. Like, I'm not just going to put you on stage because you're paying me, basically. And I appreciate that because he cares, because it's a reflection on him too as a coach. Like, if he's just going to put anybody up there regardless of what they look like, what kind of coach would he be? So, I went through a lot of emotions there, but I can flip that into the competition that I actually did. The first one that I did this year was in October, and the weeks leading up to everything was working smoothly. Every check-in was perfect. I was leaning out. Everything was perfect, and I was happy. I was hungry and I was tired, but I was happy. So for the weeks leading up to the show, not a whole lot changes. The food that I'm eating is the same. The workouts that I'm doing are the same. Actually, the week before the show, they call it peak week, so it's a little different. So it's actually less time in the gym and less water towards the end of the week, because we have to be actually dehydrated when we step on stage, because that's where you really see that muscle definition. So it's crazy because I always say when you see people on stage at a bodybuilding competition, we're not exactly healthy that day because we're depleted. We haven't had carbs maybe in like a day or two. We're dehydrated. We're tired. We're cranky. We haven't showered because once you get that tanner put on, you can't get wet. So we might smell. It's not glamorous. It looks pretty, but it's not exactly glamorous backstage. But that peak week, to me, I enjoy it to an extent. Like, it's, mentally you're getting ready for the show. You're nervous. You're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to look like? What is everybody else going to look like? Hope I don't fall on stage. I hope, I hope I place. I hope I win. There's a lot of emotions going on. So typically I try to mellow out. I try to not think about the things I can't control and focus on the things that I know I can control. I can control what I do in the gym, what I eat, and, the things that I do. But I can't control the outcome of who the judges think looks good, because it's up to the judges. So they think somebody looks better than me, that's their opinion. So, I focus on what am I doing? Am I bringing my best that day? Have I done everything that I can do to bring my best? And in my eyes, that makes me a winner. I know it sounds cheesy, but I think it's true. Like, if you brought your best, that's all you can do. So usually that last week is pretty relaxing in comparison to the 2 previous weeks, to answer your question. And it's really not so bad. I get to get a manicure, a pedicure, things that I haven't done in maybe months. Get my eyebrows plucked. Really things.
All right. So we're pretty much out of time. I do just want to give you a chance to just give any last-minute advice that you have for people, especially a lot of the people watching are like me in a position where we're trying to lose a lot of weight, and some people are trying to figure out what to do as far as exercise and those things. But what will be your piece of advice for someone how to get started, not just what to do, but the mental part, how to get started, how to discipline yourself to go after something that's different than what you've done the last 30, 40, 50 years?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. The mental part of it plays a major portion, because no matter what anybody tells you as far as, oh, you should do this in the gym or what you should eat, if you're not ready to make a change, it's not going to happen. You have to want it for yourself, not for anybody else, not because, your boyfriend said you should do something. You have to want it for yourself, and that's really is what's going to make the difference. When you want it for yourself and you believe that you can do it, you can do it. I firmly believe that anything you set your mind to do, you can do it. And it's funny because, you know, I think about all the things that my parents used to tell me when I was a kid, and I would just be like, yeah, 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 sure. They would say the word can't is not in your vocabulary, and you can do whatever you want to do. And literally, those are the things that guide me today. I'm now 34, and I still think of, so I don't tell myself I can't do anything. I figure out a way to get it done. And I encourage people to really keep your own goals in mind and be determined. This is your life, and you have control. You don't have to just, you know, go through life letting things happen to you. And, you know, if it's, you know, gaining weight and you know that you're not eating the way you should be eating to support weight loss, don't keep going down that path. If you know you can make a change, you can physically make a change and attain your goal. So I would encourage people to really keep their goals in the forefront of their mind and let that drive you. Don't think about, you know, what other people think you should do. Figure out what it is you really want and make a plan. I actually, on my site, I can share the link. I have an article that I wrote about goal setting that I think is a good thing for people to learn. If people aren't sure how to make, you know, really good goals that outline what they want to attain and how to attain it, that's part of the problem, because if you don't know how to set a proper goal, you might not know the next steps you need to take to achieve it. So I'll share that link, but I think that's a big part of it. But like I said, if you're not ready to make a change, it's going to be hard. You have to really decide what you want and be tenacious about it. Like, you really have to stick to it.
Okay, thank you. That really is wise words. I think you can apply it to many scenarios and many, you know, avenues of life. All right, well, we are officially out of time. So, Nikki, I just want to thank you for coming on and thank you for sharing your journey, sharing your story, and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure, and I can't believe an hour went by that quickly.
All right, and everybody who is still watching, I want to thank you guys for your great questions. Thank you for the comments that you've been leaving. And just remind you to tune in next week for the season finale. We're going to have a Christmas special, so make sure that you're there for that. Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you then. Have a great week.
Good night.
Bye.